Now the picture you just saw, that's a picture of me going to visit my father, who was an inmate at a federal prison for 24 years, 8 months. Now part of the problem that I have is I just scrolled past a video on Instagram, and it was Selena Gomez crying about family separations. I'm seeing all kind of little posts and stuff basically saying that, that it's not funny that families have been separated. Well, here's the problem. That photograph that I showed you, that was just one of the occasions where I was separated from my father for 24 years, 8 months, and that was just on that stretch. 53 days prior to that, he had did a couple years. Throughout my entire childhood, been separated from my family every time my mother went to prison, right? Anytime an uncle went to prison, anytime an auntie went to prison. This is a regular occurrence. And in all of those cases, you can understand why people are getting arrested is because they're breaking the law. But in this case, when it comes to illegal immigrants, I guess y'all are thinking that this is an exempt class of people who come in and likewise break the law. And so if they come here and they break the law and they get separated from their families, how is that any different from any of the times I was separated from my family? Anytime a man falls behind on his child support, that man could be picked up and arrested and separated from his family. Let somebody go with not going to take care of a jaywalking ticket, and they can be separated from their family. Let somebody drive on a suspended license and get caught, and they're going to be separated from their family. So when a third of my demographic population is going to be taken to jail, serving time in prisons across this country, transported, trying to visit their family, touching the glass and things like that, or unable to see them, period. See, because, oftentimes people be arrested and then taken to jail. And then because somebody else in their family has been to jail before, they're not even allowed on the property. They can't come up there and see their relative who's in jail. How exactly do you expect me to have sympathy for people who likewise come in and break the law and then get separated from their family, just like the rest of the country does when they get separated from their family? And so, unless y'all are under the impression that what we should do is we should just abolish the prison system, I don't know, maybe go back to something more archaic, and we whipping and beating people when they break the law as a punishment, right, instead of keeping them in prison, unless you advocate for something like that, then I don't exactly know what y'all expect to happen, because you're clearly silent when people are arrested and thrown in prison for committing crimes here locally. But I guess you think because they crossed into the country illegally, breaking the law, right, that you think that these people aren't criminals when they're breaking the law. I don't know, maybe some of the suburban black folks, stuff like that, people who didn't grow up where I grew up, maybe they ain't gonna feel this part right here, right? But when people come in and my people end up having to compete with them for funding for education, right? When they take programs, technical programs, things like that from our schools, and then annually we're giving $740 million to English second language programs. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if you noticed in that report they're actually advocating for tripling that $740 million to $2.2 billion a year. So while you may not be excited about the fact that Immigration and Customs Enforcement is coming in and enforcing existing laws that have been on the books for some time, I'm pretty excited about the results and what this is going to be for my people. I'm looking forward to not having our rent as high because there's tens of millions less people here who shouldn't be in the country illegally. When there's more money and less taxes to be collected because we're not trying to support tens of millions of additional people through various different welfare programs, which illegal immigrants do in fact collect welfare. They collect it in a number of ways. And before anybody dumb hops in my comment that says that they come in here and do work that people don't want to do, the highest concentration of illegal immigrants is in the construction field. I know niggas would love to work construction. I know they would love to work construction. Part of the problem is that because they're undocumented, they can be paid by a legit construction agency, and they know they're going to pay less because the illegal immigrant is not going to go report them for not paying them fair wages. Oftentimes. I know niggas who love to be an electrician, right? But you got people coming in and doing the work, undercutting them completely, and they have no right to be here. So don't tell me that people are going to come in and do the jobs they do. When another large section of that they work in hospitality. You don't think people will come in and work at a hotel front counter? That they will work as a housekeeper? That's crazy. We do them jobs. Or the fact that the highest number of people who work in fields, doing field work in agriculture, that those are legal American citizens. So don't tell me people won't do those jobs. Another thing, they usually get taken advantage of by the companies because even if they get hurt in Israel in a job, lots of evidence suggests that they're less likely to report it because they fear of their immigration status. But y'all keep on thinking that it's okay for companies to take advantage of these people, and then you're the noble ones. And part of the hilarity is right, some of the bleeding heart people end up, talking like slave drivers and stuff, where they're talking about wanting this low class of people to come in here, is that way they can pay them less money and get them to do jobs that nobody else wants to do. And they don't realize, how much they sound like a slave owner. All I know is that I represent a particular demographic of people. My particular demographic of people ends up competing with another particular demographic of people for the same houses, to live in the same neighborhoods, for the same jobs, right? And so, unfortunately, my people didn't ask to be here. Y'all came, picked us up, got us over here, and they made all sorts of promises. Now, I'm just asking that y'all stop trying to let people skip the line. So there won't be no playing on my struggle and they struggle, which is part of the reason why I'm so offended at the use of the 14th Amendment, which was written specifically for my groups of people, right? And doesn't say anything about birthright citizenship either. But it talks about people who are subject to the jurisdictions thereof. That was talking about my people. As a matter of fact, Senator Jacob Howard of Michigan remarked, when speaking of this particular clause in the 14th Amendment, stated that this applied to people who were subject to the jurisdiction thereof, meaning that they were already subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. This is also why Senator Trumbull of Illinois stated quite pointedly that this wouldn't even apply to Native Americans who owed any allegiance to anyone else. So again, my people here dying, bleeding, being bought, sold, raped, pillaged, you name it, here in this country, and then were denied citizenship after the fact. And the 14th Amendment was erected in order to guarantee that we received all the rights of citizenship. It was not anything remotely meaning to say that if you came here illegally against the will of the country that you're in, and then had children, that those children would be citizens. And I find it very disrespectful that people continue to twist our struggles into the struggles of every other people. So you don't have to be excited about mass deportations, but I'm excited for what that means for my people.